TVC Breakfast, the Nigerian federal government has partnered with the International Cotton Advisory Committee to revitalize the struggling cotton and textile industry. According to a statement by the Vice President's media aide Stanley Okwocha, the government held a meeting with ICAC at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. During the meeting, the focus was on developing key aspects of the cotton value chain, including farming, weaving, getting, and linking of cotton. These efforts align with President Tinubu's administration goal to industrialize the sector. Additionally, the government aims to generate over 1.4 million jobs annually in the cotton and textile industry. Well, joining us in the studio this morning is Joe Femi Dagunro, the former Vice President of Africa Spiegeleo GmbH Germany, and the former President of the Nigerian German Business Group. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so looking at the federal government's plan to revitalize the cotton and textile industry, how important is this to the economy?
Well, the first thing is this. This is not the first time we're hearing that. And it's interesting to know that we're coming back into this again and to make sure that it actually works well now. Okay. You know, you remember some few years ago, about 19-point-something billion was released to take care of this industry. True. And I know that from my understanding and from what I'm hearing from the people, the players in the industry, not much has been realized. And there's nobody held accountable for that. And now we are joining the international organization for a purpose. So, but for one thing that I realized from that space, the vice presidential team has said, let us walk the talk. Let's talk less and let's do work. So I hope this time around we're going to do more work than just talking and spending the money. You see, now we have to know the statistics of how many genera do we have functioning right now in this country. And then let's not have these, policies that will somersault after this has been reached. You know, the problem is not that we don't have ways and means to resuscitate or to revamp the economy through all these industries. But the problem has always been the policy somersaulting, you know, after a while. You know, it's good to say you want to have 1.4 million people in jobs. That's fantastic. But I would say one thing. Let's be cautious about that. You see, there are programs we have to begin to see the short time, the mid time, and the immediate one. Let's plan this thing accordingly and tell the masses this is what we are going to gain in the meantime, in the short time, and in the long time of it. So that people will not expect now that, oh, the vice president has said 1.4 million, and at the end of the year we've not done anything. So these are the things we have to be cautiously optimistic about. And when we are saying it, we have to be very careful. Another thing is this. The statistics, like I said, of the generation of the farmers. Who are the farmers? In what area? We should just not continue to talk about this geopolitical zone. It has to go around all Nigeria. In some cases, this cotton farming is not all over Nigeria. So let's focus on where these things can be done, and let's motivate the farmers, and let's get them working, and let's get them working properly. I tell you what, you remember in those days, if you can recall, Arewa textile mills in Kaduna, you know, we can all be proud of it. We have in Ikorodu here in Lagos, Nike Test. You know, people were employed, and a lot of all this thing in the industrial areas here in Lagos. You see all these things happening. Nigeria Textile Mill, NTM, and all that. But today we keep complaining they've all gone, they've all gone. Why have they all gone? Why? Because we don't have the policies to support that. And if you have the policies to support that, are the policies effective? And like I said, if money is being released to a lot of people in the past, let us know who took those money. We are not going to say, look, but let these same people not come back again to participate in this and take the money again. If you have taken money and you have not utilized it properly, we blacklist you. Maybe for the next 10 or 20 years, you'll learn a lesson from it.
Talking about policy that you've mentioned earlier, what sort of policies are you looking at?
You see, there was a time we banned importation, and you said we banned importation of textile. There was a time we gave a lot of all incentives. You know, there was a time we said, okay, if we can revive the farming industry, we give money. Anchor borrowers, you know. So these are all the things that are policies. They are good policies. But how far have we gone with these policies? What has come out of all these policies? Are we reviewing the policies now that we are serious to do it? How far can we go? It is not compulsory that at the same time we must revive the whole textile companies or the textile industry. Let's pick it. If within the next 6 months this is what we are able to do, let's do that. If it is 3 or 1 or 2 that can work effectively, let this 1 or 2 work effectively and we go to the next step. So we shouldn't be looking at doing everything at the same time. It may not work. And when it doesn't work, it falls again on the government that the government has not done anything. So this is why I'm thinking, and I am the opinion that let's do it right this time around. We have no time to waste again. Those who have wasted the billions, let's get them into the proper place of blacklisting or a black book or green book or yellow book, whichever book, so that they will not participate in this again. Money is going to be released. Listen, there's a lot of fund out there in billions of naira that they want to spend on the industry all over the world. But look at how India has been able to manage their own industry, and they are #1 today. Look at how China, they have been able to, they look at the regions, the areas, and they concentrate on it. So this is the same thing we should do. The generalists we're talking about, where are they? Are they functioning? Can we produce enough raw material, the cottons, to even maintain the generalists that are working? So if we can, let us monitor it. And by the way, you cannot make this industry, the textile industry, work effectively without consistent power supply. I remember when I was talking to late Paul Achimogo, who the people behind the Arewa Textile, during Obasanjo regime. He traveled around with Obasanjo, and the only thing they were saying to him is, look, give us electricity, we'll support you. So this is not something you give electricity today on band A, on band B, or whatever band, and then the next tomorrow, you don't have electricity again. See, all these things have to be worked out. Let's not rush into it. Let's plan it. Let's be calculated, and let's come back to it and do it well. This time around, let's achieve the success. This is what the president is always talking about. You see, long time. The pain might be there initially, but then at the end of the day, for how long will the pain last? And then if the pain is just for a short while and we're enjoying it, at the end of the day, we clap, we say hooray.
All right. So, you've mentioned a lot of things, some of the issues that may have affected the textile industry, before, will I call it, collapsed? Because we really will say at this point, we're not getting much from that industry. You mentioned power. You also mentioned importation of raw materials. You also mentioned that perhaps we should also address the issue of corruption. But just to understand the severity of this issue, what is the prospect of that industry? I know that the textile industry a few years ago was, something even young children wanted to visit those industries, but we don't see that anymore. What's the prospect as regards, revenue generation? We're at a time where we need as much as we can in our economy.
I tell you what, if we're able to bring it up to the level that even if it is 50% or 40% of these companies or the players in the industry can really function very well. After food, what do you think of? You want to wear clothes. And if you can wear, look at Ankara, Adire, and all those materials. Some of them are being imported, I'm told. I mean, is it not that shameful? If we have to bring in these ones again. So now we can generate local fund. We can generate a lot of money even by exporting. In those days, we keep talking about in those days, people come all the way from the West African countries, the neighborhoods here, to buy all these things, Ankara and all that. But lately, you begin to see this foreign brand dominating the whole place. And I have seen that unless we go back to reality, you talk about corruption. That is what everybody knows. Corruption is killing most of all the things in the industry. But what do we do? How do we tame it? And that is why I said those who collected those money, bring them back and say, look, you've collected this money, inspect them. Listen, most of the machineries are obsolete. So it is not something we wake up today and get right tomorrow. And that's why I'm saying that, look, it has to be, there are some immediate things that have to be done, short time, mid time, and long time. So some of the machineries are obsolete. We need to train our people as well. The techniques have to be, we need to train the people more and train the trainer to be able to do it. How many people go now into the university to say, I'm learning technology, textile technology or whatever. Even if they do that, where is the job for them? But if we maintain it, if we do it well, things will be different. There will be job. Yes, there will be job. Then the farmers will be happy because there are off-takers, immediate off-takers, because they cannot even produce enough for the journalists to work. So it's not as if you produce, you are expecting, even before. So now, if we do it right, it's just the issue of doing it right. It's not about this meeting and meeting. Yes, we have to have meetings to discuss, to dialogue, and to make things work. But how far, how long do we need this roadmap to come out? So if we have the roadmap, what is the timeline for this roadmap to begin to work? You know, this administration has 4 years, maximum 8 years. So it is not going to be an everlasting discussion. We have to begin to look at it. In another 1 or 2 years, the next election is coming. So let's begin to do things that will make it work now and not to postpone it again.
Talking about making it work now, of course, the federal government says it has attracted about $3.5 billion in funds to boost the sector. And the CBN says that it has about 50 billion in special mechanism funds to enhance the growth of the sector. Is this enough?
Well, it's good that we even have something to start with.
Okay, it's good to start with.
Let's start with it. But in starting with it, let's start well. I mean, like I said, if we have these billions, you see, when the citizens hear these billions and billions and trillions, you know, they kind of feel agitated and say, listen, where's this money coming from? Who are the people spending this money? These are the problems we have. So now, even if we have X billion of naira or dollars or pounds, whatever currency denomination, who are the people to take this money? What are the criteria? Do we supervise them? Do we monitor them? Do we make sure that the machineries they say they want to buy, they actually purchase this machinery, the machineries are installed and functioning? Or we just give them money and then LC, then we don't monitor anything again. And then after 3 months, we begin to say, this is how far we have gone. If we spend money on anything, let us be able to come back to the citizens and say, look, we told you that, look, we're going to generate about 1.4 million, but we are not generating 1.4 million, but we are generating 600,000, we are generating 200. But that's the first phase. And we've been able to manage, these are the generations, these are the factories that have collected the money. We've given this one this money, and this is what they are doing. Let us tour the companies and see what the money, where the money actually is spent on. Let them open their books, let them be transparent. And if you are found guilty of anything, then you face the music. And once you face the music, you know you can't come back again.
But if we do all this that you have mentioned, don't you also think, this orientation of the current shifts from the locally made clothing materials that we have right now, many persons really want to patronize foreign brands and not whatever we have in Nigeria. I mean, it's even a thing of pride to have some of these designers. Will the sector actually survive when most Nigerians prefer clothing outside the country?
You talk about orientation. You know, have you seen lately what our designers are doing with Ankara? What they're doing with Ashoki? What they're doing with, Adire? And you see the governors, I mean, especially the governor of Ogun State wearing Adire and wearing. So we have to, the leaders themselves have to begin to patronize made in Nigeria clothes. You have to patronize made in Nigeria clothes. If you say, look, if the people see, look at during the period of Obasanjo, you give it to him on that. He never one day put on a suit, right? And he's always wearing this agbada, promoting Nigeria culture with his dress, with his attire. And if we begin to do that with our native attires, with our, this made in Nigeria, and we're advertising it. Go to Republic of Benin, go to Cote d'Ivoire. You see the way all these Ankara things are being advertised. You would just wish this is made in Nigeria. But that was what was happening before. Now you have other brands. It is not compulsory for, you can't deny anybody from saying we're made in Aba or we're made in Brazil or wherever. But the point is the people themselves will patronize. This orientation, you've said it. The National Orientation Agency, they have a job to do at the grassroots level, at the state level. And look at what is going, like I mentioned, this Governor Abiodun, who usually put on this direct thing, made in Abeokuta. And we have to encourage our people to say, this is made in Abeokuta in Nigeria. We don't need to lie about it. Some of the shoes are made in Aba, but they don't put made in Italy there because they feel that, look, if it is not made in Italy or made in Brazil, nobody's going to buy it until we have that orientation to be proud of who we are and how we develop our country. We can do it, but this is where leadership comes in. This is where leadership comes in. You don't want to see your leader putting all these expensive things and not made in Nigeria, and you are telling them that they should wear made in Nigeria. They will ask you a question.
But does it boil down to the quality of the fabric that's made here? And it has led to a lot of people having this penchant for foreign-made goods.
Good. We all need good quality of life as well. You know, in those days, you remember, I used to see my grandma when we buy these lamps. You know, there's this glass. It's made in Eastern Germany, not even Western Germany there. And there's one made in Western Germany. This grandma does not go to school, but she knows that once it's Germany, it must be quality. You know, but look at when the Koreans, they came with their cars. Initially, nobody wants to buy a Korean car, but look at what is happening right now. So we have to start from somewhere and improve. That is why we need to improve on our machinery. That's why we need to improve on the training. The people here, they are not daft. They can adapt. Train them. Give them the quality material. They will work with it, and we get the best. Listen, it's good that we have the governor of Lagos State in this team, because we know that Lagos is the hub of fashion. You know, so if we get it right and our designers are given the orientation that, look, let's boost this one, it will be boosted. The Nigerian, the diaspora will be wearing, you know, these clothes. And then at the end of the day, though in summer, though, I mean, but we can have organizations who will promote a lot more better within West African community and outside this country. And let us not begin to go to all these functions that most of our leaders will go by wearing these imported dress. Let them be wearing our native dress. See, sometimes when you see the Indian prime minister or Indian leaders, when they go, they dress in their attires and they're proud of it. You know, see the Pakistani guys, and sometimes let's be proud of what we have and let's dress accordingly. We can't continue to imitate the people. We are taking the democracy from them. We are taking their clothes. We are taking, for what's going on? So until we begin to do the right thing, and the right thing starts from the leadership and then the followers as well. It's not only the leaders now, the followers have to, but the orientation must be there. People must, if you have the quality, definitely the price. The quality goes with the price. So even the quality you are thinking that people are buying from abroad is not always the highest quality they buy, but because of the tag. You know, we can develop those tags here that we make made in Nigeria, made in Lagos, made in Aba, made in Uwiri, or made in Kafancha, or made in Zamfara. We have a lot of good brands that we can promote. Even the names of our states are good brands to promote.
So this boils down to policies of government, which you had mentioned earlier. But how does the policies of government affect production? How does it affect the industries?
Listen, if you look at the policies of the foreign exchange, there are some of these things that have to be brought into the country. You are importing the machineries, so you give them a special rate to get all these things in so that they'll be able to maintain. But then it's not when you give them a special rate, a special program, and the money is diverted into something else. If you say, go and buy this machinery for X dollar, if it is $10,000, $100,000, you approve that dollar specifically directly to the supplier, and not one man that will take the $200,000, $100,000 and go to the BDC and start selling it. And then after 3 months, there's no machinery, there's nothing, the money is gone. And the guy is not being prosecuted. And what happened? The next man would do it. So that is okay. And if you say, look, importation, and people say you ban importation, fine. But if they bring them in, how do you confiscate, and what happens to the ones confiscated? Our borders are porous. We have had it so many times. What do we do? So if we impose taxes on some of these things that will make our locally produced materials or produced goods to work well so that we can even export it, you know, that is why we are not enjoying this AGOA thing, because some of our things are not meeting that international standard. So it doesn't matter whether we join any organization or not, but we have to improve on it. And to improve on it, we need to train our people, I said it, we need to get the machineries, and we need to make sure that our policies are constant so that even investors that are coming to the country, they will see that the policy has been constant for the past 5 years, and they can trust bringing their money into the industry. This industry is a vibrant industry, and it's an industry that we can really make a lot and even employ our people.
All right, so how do we explore, you know, public-private partnership? There's this fear that once the government decides to do something, most times there may be no, you know, follow-up to ensure that these things are done, which is part of the fear that you also have expressed. So perhaps we should be exploring public and private partnership coming together to have these industries. At least we will not have the issue of bureaucracy that we still see in the private sector.
Yeah, it has to always be. You know, you don't have federal government textile industry or textile company Nigeria Limited. No, the private sector will drive it. They're already there. It's just the policies, and then to monitor what they make out of it. If you give them the room to just take your money and go and do what they like, and without proper monitoring and execution program, then that's the problem. The government is saying, look, now we are a member of this association, international association. The leaders have come to say, we are ready to help you. but we need to work on this roadmap. We need to work to make sure it works. This is what the government can do. The government can only provide you the platform to grow. And then you in the private sector, you have association of textile and all this industry, garment and all that. And good enough, a former governor and now a senator was once. He grew his career from that industry. That is a Senator Oshomole. So these are people that they are already there. They know what it is, and they can contribute immensely to make sure it works. So when you have these people who are there already, who are in government, and to make it work, I think we should listen. And then the private sector, when they talk, we have to listen to them. We have to follow the guidelines of what these people think. Because if you give me the money, you want me to pay back the money, you should be able to listen to me. But it's not everything I say that might work immediately, but let's listen, let's come together and reason. But then if we come together to reason, it is just not about the billions of dollars that we are looking at on the table. No, it's about how it will work, and how it will work not just for 6 months or for 1 year. It has to work for everlasting. And that is why you see those countries we mentioned, India, China, and all other countries, they are working well because there are consequences if we mess around with their money.
So how do we take advantage of the Africa Growth and Opportunities Act?
You have to produce quality. Once you produce the quality that meets international standard, and I think some people are enjoying it already, but maybe in a low scale. I know there's a company somewhere around this Lagos-Ibadan Express where they produce, garments and all that. It's being led by a lady, and it's doing well. She's exporting directly, and she's making good money out of it. It is people have to just believe in themselves to be sure that we can do it, because these people will not lower their standard because of us. They have a standard, and the standard has to be met. You see, and we have to control the standard organization as well. I don't know, maybe they have a department for controlling such things. They have to make sure the standard is met. And once the standard is met and we can export, then we are generating more. And once we begin to generate more, then the country is happy, the people are happy, the workers are happy. And this is what we have to do. The Constitution guarantees us that the government must make us to be happy. But if government is making these things to happen, and the people are not working with it, then we have to blame ourselves as well.
So in all of these things now, what will be your first point of call or advice to the government if you are called upon to say, okay, let's talk about this. What should we do now? Apart from electricity, which you have mentioned, what else can we do to...
Don't politicize this thing. It's not about policy. It has to come to my constituency or not. Fix where it has to be fixed. If it is Katsina, if it is Zamfara, if it is Sokoto, fix it there and let it work.
Based on where you can get...
Yeah, get the raw material, where the generics are, where the existing ones are. Select the existing ones that are functioning or they can still be revived. Don't go into the ones that are already dormant that cannot even work in the next 5 years. Go into the ones that you can still revive it, maybe in 6 months. Revive those ones that can work. Make sure the money is put in a good place and get the people to sign bonds. The directors or the owners must sign bonds, to make sure they put the money in the right place. So if we work bipartisan, it doesn't matter whether it's north, south, west. This idea of it has to be geopolitical, these zones and all that, is killing the industry, is killing the people. So let's work with where we know that these journalists are working, this industry. If it is Nikem Test in Ikorodu, make sure it works. If it is Arewa, if it is whoever, if it is Wakot, let these things work and let us support them. If 1 or 2 is working within the next 6 months, then the rest will work in another 6 months again. With this timeline, you'll be able to monitor, and the world will see, the people will see. And when the people begins to see, because, you see, I keep saying it is not enough to say we want to generate 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. Yes, it is good to have that in plan as long term, but the people want to see what happened in the next 3 months, what happened in the next 6 months. So if we break it down and make sure the industry, the companies that can work with you, with the government right now within 3 months, let's search for that. Let's get them on board and let's tell them this is what we want. In the next 90 days, can we do something? In the next 60 days, can we do something? If we identify that, those are the people we should work with first in the first phase. And the second phase, we'll look at those that can work in another 1 year, because the time is not just there anymore.
And of course, everyone should be involved in the monitoring of their processes. Thank you very much, Joe Femi Danguro, for talking to us, the former president of the Nigerian-German Business Group. Thank you so much for talking to us.
I appreciate it.
Well, at this point, we'll take